Discover the incredible journey of a struggling single mother who married a candy apple vendor. Her life will change forever. Each dawn, Sarah's alarm buzzed at 4:30 a.m., a merciless reminder that the world didn't wait. She rolled out of bed, careful not to wake Jason, his small frame cocooned in the warmth of blankets. She glanced at him, taking a mental snapshot of his peaceful face. Fueled by a cup of strong coffee and a fierce determination, she braced herself for another long day at the diner. The diner was a second home, its booths worn but welcoming. They knew her there, the regulars who mistook the stumble in her step for weariness. In fact, it was the weight of her dreams. She flipped pancakes, poured coffee, and lived each day for snippets of laughter and the joy that sparked whenever Jason's name slipped from her lips. One day, "Sweetheart, you'll have everything I never had," she whispered to the universe as she scooped hash browns onto a plate, her heart swelling with hope. After the sun tucked itself away, the diner faded like a fleeting dream. She piled into her second job, scrubbing floors and dusting desks until midnight. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. Her body ached, yet every moment of exhaustion was worth it for the life she built for Jason, cherishing every small victory like a shiny coin. Then one fateful evening, the annual town fair lit up the streets, bursting with laughter, roller coasters, and the enticing smell of cotton candy. Despite her worries, Sarah had promised Jason they could go. As they strolled through the fairgrounds, his eyes sparkled with wonder. A vendor caught her eye, Tom, cheerful and charming, selling an array of brightly colored candy apples. "Hey there. Want to try one?" he called, grinning from ear to ear. Sarah felt her heart flutter. There was something in his warm smile that mirrored her dreams. Tom shared tales of how he wanted to expand his business, his laughter contagious. For an afternoon, all the weight she carried melted away, and in that moment, a spark ignited between them, a beautiful connection wrapped in kindness during a bleak time. Life, for a heartbeat, felt lighter. But as she slowly fell for Tom, whispers followed. Friends and family offered their unsolicited opinions, frowning at his job as if it were a toxic stain on her life. A candy vendor? "Sarah, he's not a provider," they said. Each word felt like a stone in her chest, threatening to break her resolve. Then adversity struck. Tom fell ill, bedridden and vulnerable. Her heart shattered as Jason's face morphed into confusion when he realized the chaos seeping into their lives. Torn between Tommy's needs and nurturing Jason, she faced a gut-wrenching choice. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With Tom's sudden crisis darkening everything, Sarah felt the weight of despair. Yet amidst the uncertainty, a flicker of hope ignited. She rallied a fundraiser, an embodiment of community spirit, a bittersweet reminder of the love she believed could conquer all. As she shared Tom's struggle, and people responded with kindness, Sarah felt a familiar strength surging. But just before the event was set to unfold, a devastating revelation about Tom's health turned her world upside down. Standing beneath a starry sky, she clutched her heart and questioned everything. Was love worth risking it all? And what kind of future would she build for Jason in such a turbulent storm? As she stared into the night, everything felt precarious, brimming with uncertainty. What legacy of resilience would she leave for her son? Hope hung over her like a thin thread, begging to be pulled. Her life will change forever. The buzz of her phone jolted Sarah from her thoughts. It was a text from Tom's sister, Melissa, reminding her of the fundraiser they were hosting later that day. The reality of the situation rushed over her, and with a deep breath, she knew she had to put on a brave face. For Tom, for Jason, and for the community that was rallying around them, she had to keep going. The sun was barely up when she set to work in the dingy community hall, transformed into a vibrant space by colorful streamers and the scent of baked goods. Sarah poured her heart into every cupcake, remembering the sweet taste of childhood and the comforting embrace of familiar traditions. Maybe, just maybe, this could bring some light back into Tom's life. As she arranged donation jars on the tables, familiar faces approached. Neighbors, co-workers, even that distant cousin she hardly spoke to. It filled her heart to see the support around her. But beneath the smiles and chatter, a nagging doubt inched back into her mind. Was this enough? Sarah, you're amazing. I don't know how you manage all of this, one neighbor gushed as she loaded her arms with treats. It's all for Tom, Sarah replied, forcing a smile. But inside, she felt the walls closing in, heavy and suffocating. How would she explain to Jason why they were spending so much time trying to save someone who was so close yet so far away? As evening approached and the fundraiser kicked off, a palpable energy filled the room. Laughter echoed. Support poured in. Sarah worked tirelessly, her anxiety slowly fading with every dollar raised. But in a quiet moment between serving, she spotted a few acquaintances exchanging concerned looks, their whispers nagging at her. Would Tom really be able to bounce back? Suddenly, Jason broke through the crowd, his small body pushing against the throng. His eyes were wide, glimmering with curiosity. "Mom, can I get a lemonade?" he asked, bouncing on his heels, a small beacon of joy amidst the chaos. "Yes, sweetheart, just a sec," she replied, her heart swelling. She poured a cup, observing him with an intensity that choked her up. Each smile he flashed her felt like a lifeline, reminding her of the purity of love and trust. But as she turned back to the crowd, she caught a glimpse of Tom's empty chair. Her heart sank. What if he never made it back? With the night winding down, the total raised exceeded what Sarah had hoped for. She felt a warmth embrace her when Melissa approached, tears glistening. "Thank you, Sarah. This means everything to us." As they shared a hug, Sarah's heart raced, driven by a mix of hope and fear. "I just want him to be okay," she whispered, her voice trembling. In that moment, her phone buzzed again. A message from Tom. Sarah's heart leapt, but as she saw the words, her stomach dropped. "I'm really scared. I don't know if I can do this anymore." Tears pricked her eyes as she realized the weight of his words. Could she handle this? Could their love withstand such an immense burden? Holding the phone close, she took a deep breath. It was time to face the truth, time to fight for both Tom and Jason. As she prepared to respond, a crackle of uncertainty settled within her. Would love truly conquer all? With trembling hands, she began typing, but a new text message popped up on her screen, halting her heart for a split second. It was from someone she hadn't heard from in years, someone who could shake her world even further. "Sarah, it's me, I need to talk." What did they want now? And how would it affect everything she held dear? The silence hung heavy in the air as Sarah stared at the message. Memories rushed back faster than she could control, echoes of laughter, a time that felt simpler, before life turned unpredictable. She hadn't heard from Mark in years, and his sudden reappearance felt like a storm brewing on the horizon. She quickly glanced around the bustling hall. The fundraiser buzzed with energy, laughter mingling with the sounds of clinking glasses and excited chatter. But all she could feel was the cold grip of anxiety wrapping tighter around her heart. What could Mark possibly want? Jason tugged at her sleeve, breaking her reverie. "Mom, lemonade?" His bright eyes held a sparkle that made her smile, even through the tumult inside. She knelt to his level, forcing a cheerful tone. "Yes, buddy. Let us get you that lemonade. We can toast to all the yummy treats we sold tonight." Stepping away from the phone, she filled a cup, but Mark's message gnawed at her. The past, its sweet flavor and painful shards, brought a rush of confusion. Should she respond now or wait? The open-endedness felt daunting. She knew that once she opened that door, everything could change. As she walked with Jason to where their neighbors gathered, she caught snippets of conversations. They were filled with support for Tom, hopes for his recovery, and the resilience of the community. But beneath that surface, she sensed the shadows of doubt. Even among those who loved him, fear loomed. "Sarah," Melissa called out, pulling her back into the moment. "You don't know how much this means to us. You're truly a blessing." Sarah felt her cheeks flush at the praise. "I couldn't do it without all of you," she replied. She meant it. Every hand that helped, every person who donated, they all shared this fight. Tom was part of their lives, a branch on their family tree. Jason laughed, and Sarah looked down to see him juggling 2 cups of lemonade, face scrunched with concentration. "Mom! Watch this." He spun in circles, arms flailing, a happy whirlwind of innocence. The sight pulled her deep into the present, momentarily pushing out her swirling uncertainties. But then, like a tidal wave, Mark's whisper crept back in. What would he say? Did he know about Tom? About her struggles? There was so much history, so many unresolved feelings. She struggled to understand why he had chosen this moment to reach out. Just then, the fundraiser closed with applause, and Melissa stood up to share the final amount raised. Sarah's heart swelled again, this time with pride. They had fought for Tom, for each other, and they had won for now. But as the hall began to empty, her phone buzzed again, and her heart lurched. Another message from Mark flashed across the screen: "I need you back in my life. There's something important I have to tell you." What was so urgent that he had to pull her back from the edge of her new life? A swell of panic rushed through her veins. Did she really want to open that door again? And what would it mean for her and Jason? As the last few guests trickled out, she stood rooted in place, phone in hand, knowing she had to make a choice. Would she reach back into her past or continue leaning into the love she desperately needed to protect? The weight of it nearly crushed her. What if it was the thing that could unravel everything she had built? Just as a deep breath gathered in her lungs, her decision began to form, but another chime interrupted her thoughts. A video call request from Tom. Her heart raced as she stared at the screen. Accept or decline? Echoed in her mind. The path before her was fraying, and she had to step one way or the other, but which choice would lead her to the heart of what she truly needed? The decision felt like a weight in her chest, a solid, unyielding mass. Flashing between the 2 screens, Mark's message and Tom's video call, she felt the incredible push and pull of her past and present. Taking one last glance around the hall, shadows creepier now with the dimming lights, she couldn't help but think of all those moments that had led her here. Mark had been someone she loved fiercely. Their dreams folded into a future that slipped away the moment he walked out the door. Tom had stepped in, filling the spaces Mark left behind. He had become her partner in every sense of the word, supportive, caring, a pillar during her most desperate times. Knowing how much Tom had been through recently made her heart ache even more. Finally, gathering her courage, Sarah pressed the button to accept the call. Almost immediately, Tom's face appeared on the screen, his forehead bandaged, but his eyes gleamed with the same warmth she loved. "Hey," he said, his voice soft yet full of energy. "I wanted to see how the fundraiser went." She smiled, her heart softening. There was comfort in his presence, even through the screen. "We raised a lot, Tom. You would be proud." "I always am." He chuckled lightly, but then his expression turned serious. "You okay? You're not looking great." Biting her lip, Sarah hesitated. "It's just the fundraiser wraps up, and then there's this storm I didn't see brewing." She gestured toward her phone, torn between her past and present. "Mark reached out, and I didn't expect to feel so unsettled." Tom's eyes widened, and he leaned in closer to the camera. Mark? You haven't heard from him in years. What did he say? Nothing much. Just that he needs me back in his life. The words fell from her lips like stones, each syllable weighing heavier than the last. Sarah, he said slowly, choosing each word with care. You've built a life. With me, with Jason. That's what matters now. Don't let anyone drag you back into the past. Tears threatened her composure. But what if there's something to it? What if he's changed? He left you once, Tom countered, firm but kind. What if this is just another chance for him to leave again? The thought cut deep, and she knew he was right. Yet, the sharp edge of curiosity prodded at her mind. She could feel an invisible rope pulling her toward Mark, echoing possibilities of what might have been. But was it worth letting go of the security she had carved out with Tom? She took a deep breath, trying to free herself from that temptation. Then again, she murmured, nearly voicing her doubts as they materialized. What if he connects the dots I can't? Tom remained silent, intensity flickering in his gaze. He could see her wrestling with not just decisions about Mark but the very fabric of her life. My heart is so full of love for you, Sarah. Don't let that be eclipsed by what was, he whispered, and she felt it reverberate within her soul. The screen shared a space between them, but she felt the warmth of his strength flowing through the digital connection. But just as warmth settled in, another vibration startled them both. Mark again. The message read, "You need to know the truth about our past." Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Truth? What could possibly warrant that? Feeling the blood rush to her head, the urge to respond warred with her instincts. Her heart pounded loudly, a reminder that this was the moment she could either move forward or turn back. Tom, she began, now wavering as uncertainty flooded back in. But Tom's face remained open and curious, waiting for her to pause and ponder. What's your next move, Sarah? He urged gently. Her phone felt heavy in her palm. She was at a crossroads, teetering on the brink of a decision that could alter the very foundations of her world. Would she seek out the truth, even again? Or dive deeper into the life she had fought so hard to reconstruct? With her heart pounding, she hesitated. As the seconds ticked by, she found herself faced with two diverging paths, waiting for that moment of realization to flash like lightning in her mind. What awaited her beyond either choice? Her heart raced, and she felt the weight of the moment pressing against her chest. The phone buzzed again, pulling her focus back to the screen. What did Mark mean by the truth? Did he hold secrets that could upend everything she'd built with Tom? She glanced at Tom's concerned expression, pushing a wave of guilt through her. Sarah? Tom's voice broke through her thoughts, laced with concern. Tell me what you're thinking. She took a deep breath, pondering the words carefully. What if there's something important I need to know? Important or just dangerous? Tom countered, leaning closer, as if trying to physically navigate the space between them. A part of her recoiled at the thought of investigating her past. But another part pulled at her, whispering of unresolved feelings. He was a huge part of my life, Tom. Can I just ignore this? Look, you owe it to yourself to protect what you have now. Your happiness matters. His expression softened, but there was an edge to his voice. Don't let old wounds take away your peace. I know you're right. She felt the conflict raging inside her, a lion roaring for freedom while a careful lamb begged to stay hidden. Then let's focus on what we've built together. Tom's words trailed off as her mind drifted back to Mark. Was he really contrite? Did she have the strength to face him? The weight of the decision sat heavier than ever. How could someone like her know what to do? She loved Tom, but the reminder of Mark felt like a flickering flame that refused to be extinguished. Taking another breath, she made a choice. I need to respond to him. Please don't. Tom's voice held an urgency that made her heart ache. Step back from this for a moment. Think about us. She nodded, wrapping her arms around herself, trying to anchor herself in reality. But what if there is something I'm not seeing? What if it changes everything? Only you can answer that. Tom's gaze bore through the screen, his sincerity palpable. Just remember, the truth can be a double-edged sword. She understood him, but the rush of adrenaline coursing through her veins made her head spin. Could this be an opportunity to find closure? Or would it cause more damage to the life she wanted to cherish? In a flash, Sarah typed a response, "What do you mean by the truth?" But as soon as she hit send, uncertainty flooded back in. "No turning back now, huh?" Tom said softly, his tone a mixture of support and resignation. "I guess not." She pressed a hand to her forehead, feeling the tension tighten her temples. "What if it's the worst?" Tom sighed heavily before answering, "Then we face it together. Like we always do." Despite his reassuring words, she could see the shadow of fear lurking behind his smile. Moments stretched into what felt like hours as they waited. Each second felt filled with echoes of their laughter, the mundane bits they shared, and the darkness that came from the unknown. Then, the screen lit up again. Mark's message popped up, "I've never stopped caring about you, Sarah. There's so much you need to know about the night I left." Her stomach dropped, and her pulse quickened. The night he left, those words beckoned memories buried deep in her heart. Tom's steady presence faded momentarily, making room for the flood of emotions from years past. What could he mean? She whispered, half to herself and half to Tom. "Whatever it is, are you ready to find out?" Tom asked, his voice barely a murmur. With every breath, her resolution grew. Maybe it was time to strip the layers and face the truth. But as she prepared to read more, the weight of everything threatened to consume her. Would this be the moment that illuminated her past or shattered her present? As her thumbs hovered over the screen, she inhaled deeply, bracing herself for whatever lay ahead. One click to the past, but at what cost? Sarah's heart thudded in her chest as she stared at the message on her phone. The flickering screen felt like a portal to her past, opening up memories she'd tried hard to lock away. Could she really dive back into that sea of uncertainty after all this time? Tom's eyes were boring into her, alive with concern. "Hey, we can talk about this. You don't have to go there just because he's reached out." The gravity of his words softened her racing thoughts, yet the curiosity pulled her like a tidal wave. What if I need to know what really happened that night? Doesn't it matter what happened? What matters is now. Tom reached for her hand, showing her that he was here, present, aware of the storm brewing inside her. With trembling fingers, she opened the message from Mark. "I've never stopped caring about you. There's so much you need to know about the night I left." A chill swept over her as she read it again, feeling shadows stretch over her current life, painting it with the possibility of dread. "What did he mean, Sarah?" Tom asked, his voice a blend of curiosity and worry. "I don't know." She glanced at him, seeing the worry etched on his face. I wish I could forget him." The admission tasted bitter on her tongue. "Well, you're not him, and this is not your life anymore." His grip tightened. "We have something good. Something real." Her heart warmed at his words, a flickering ember in the midst of chaos. But that ember could easily spark into a fire. Without thinking, she typed back, "What do you want to tell me?" There. She'd taken one more step forward, but the implications of her actions loomed ominously. The screen flashed, another reply already coming through, faster than she'd anticipated. "Meet me. There's something I need to explain in person." A million thoughts rushed through her mind, each one more twisted than the last. "Tom," she began, but the worry in his eyes stole the words right from her lips. What could she say? That part of her wanted to leap into the unknown while another part screamed to hold tight to the brightest parts of her life now. "Absolutely not," he said, his tone solid, as if he'd made up his mind without her. You can't just meet him. You don't know what it'll lead to. The rising panic inside her threatened to drown her. But what if I need to know, Tom? What if he holds the answers to my past that could change everything for my future? Tom's expression softened, yet his resolve remained. You're stronger than this, Sarah. But you need to make the right choice. Think about us. His words pressed against the walls of her heart, fighting against the chaos swirling inside. She wanted to keep the happiness they'd worked to build, the love, the laughter. But would not knowing the truth haunt her? Was there a path that could lead her to peace? Just text him you need time, Tom suggested gently, his voice a soothing balm. But could she? The phone buzzed again, another message lighting up the screen. I'll be waiting, please don't leave me hanging. The pressure weighed heavier, a storm of emotions swirling around her as she wrestled with her heart and mind. Maybe I should just meet him, she finally whispered, her lips barely moving. Tom inhaled sharply. No. Please don't do that. This isn't just about you anymore. Then what is it about? She shot back, a mixture of anger and desperation bubbling below the surface. About us. About the life we've created. His words caused a crack in her resolve. But what if the life she was protecting hinged on shadows she had yet to face? As silence filled the space, she weighed everything, her thoughts echoing against the walls of the moment. Was she ready to step back into the past, risking everything she cherished? Unearthing the truth could prove catastrophic, but without it, how would she ever truly move forward? An unsettling thought crept in, what if this was just the beginning of a much larger unraveling? Her heart thudded in her chest, each beat a silent countdown to a choice that could either destroy her or liberate her. Gathering her breath, she made up her mind. But deep down she wondered, was she prepared for what happened next? Sarah's mind raced as the seconds slipped by, each tick of the clock weighing heavier than the last. Her phone vibrated again, jolting her from her thoughts. She glanced at the screen, a mix of anticipation and dread swirling inside her. Mark's name felt like a brand upon her heart, reminding her of choices long buried but never truly forgotten. Sarah? Tom's voice broke through her frantic thoughts. His concern was palpable, and she felt a sharp tug at her heart. Do you really need to do this? She bit her lip, her breath shaky. I don't know, Tom. Part of me thinks I should just let it go. But another part, it's like a puzzle piece from my past that I need to find. His gaze searched hers, perhaps looking for reasoning, or maybe a sign that she still belonged to the present. It's not just about what happened back then, he said softly. It's about who you are now. The truth of his words hung heavy in the air. She had built a life she was proud of with Tom. Memories with him felt like a legit path toward healing. Yet, the unresolved questions about Mark loomed like a shadow. What had really happened that night? And why now? Sarah, he continued, grounding her. You can talk about this with me. You don't have to meet him to find closure. She felt a warmth spread through her at his commitment, and she squeezed his hand, feeling a flicker of safety. Still, Mark's invitation lingered, baiting her with the promise of answers. She started, but the words got tangled in her throat. What could she say? That part of her desperately wanted to run toward the past while another part was terrified of what it might bring. Let us think this through, Tom said, echoing her chaotic thoughts. What's the worst that could happen? The question hit her like a slap, drawing out her fears. Somehow, seeing Mark again could open all doors she had spent years closing. Emotions she'd nearly forgotten could come rushing back. She could feel the walls around her heart tremble at the thought. I don't want to make any rash decisions, she finally admitted. But I can't pretend this isn't eating away at me. Then, maybe think about what you really want, he urged, his eyes steady and unwavering. Do you think seeing him will bring you closure, or will it just complicate everything? For what felt like the first time in ages, Sarah allowed herself to truly consider both options. If she reached out to Mark, would she uncover something hazardous or perhaps reveal hidden truths that could help her heal? What if it changes everything? She murmured, more to herself than to him. Tom shifted closer, closing the distance between them, his warmth enveloping her. Sometimes, embracing the unknown is part of moving forward. Just promise me you won't lose yourself in it. She nodded slowly, understanding the gravity of his words. They were bound together, yet here she was, standing on the precipice of two lives. The comfort of the present warred against the need to understand the past. Its echoes reverberated through her like silent screams. Maybe I just need a little more time, she whispered, taking a deep breath, trying to savor the security of what she knew. Just as she thought about replying to Mark, her phone buzzed one more time. A message that felt like it could flip her world upside down. You don't understand. I'm not the only one who needs to talk. They need to know the truth, too. A chill raced down her spine. The truth? What truth? Her heart raced in a different way now, adrenaline coursing through her. This wasn't just about her past, it was a hint of something larger, and she was once again standing at a crossroads. Tom, I think there's more to this than I realized, she said, gripping his hand tighter. She needed to choose, but suddenly, the way forward felt even less certain. What crucial truth awaited her on the other side of this decision? Sarah's heart thudded in her chest as she stared at the screen, each word from Mark's message twisting her stomach tighter. What could he possibly mean by that? So many years had passed, yet it was as if the clock had spun back to that fateful night, the echoes of the past crashing over her like a tidal wave. Who are they? Tom questioned, a furrow in his brow. What truth? Maybe I should just reply, she said, her voice trembling. But deep down, she knew it wasn't that simple. Mark had reached into her life and unearthed fragments she thought were buried. Take a moment, Tom urged, his voice steady, laced with concern. Remember why you were trying to move on. You've built something precious here. He lifted her chin, forcing her to meet his gaze. His dark eyes were an anchor, absorbing her fears without judgment. You've come so far, Sarah. Is this really worth risking what you have? Sarah paused. Her thoughts spun. The connection with Tom felt like a blank canvas filled with the bright colors of love, hope, and stability. But her unresolved history with Mark was like a smoldering ember, buried yet powerful enough to ignite unexpected flames. I need to know what is going on, she confessed, her voice quivering. What if this truth is something that could change everything? Tom sighed, his fingers squeezing hers. What if it does? Will you feel free? Or will this burden you even more? Silence fell between them, thick and heavy. She could hear the distant sound of children laughing, a warm reminder of the life she had carved out. But the mind can hardly ignore the whisper of curiosity or the pull of the past. I need to think, Sarah whispered, retreating slightly. She took a step back, holding on to the familiar weight of Tom's hand even as her heart raced for freedom. Just give me time to process this. Tom nodded, understanding flickering across his face. I'll be here whatever you decide. Sarah stepped aside, her pulse quickening as she stared blankly at her phone. The screen glowed back at her, the words burning into her mind. As time dragged on, she felt the world around her begin to fade. The laughter of children and the warmth of the sun seeping through the window felt distant. All she could focus on were those words. Before she realized it, her hand was reaching for her phone, her fingers hovering above the keyboard, emotion swirling within her as she contemplated the next message. What if I just find out what they want? She murmured, half to herself, half to Tom. What harm could come from just understanding? With the clock punctuating the silence, she took a deep breath and began typing her reply. Each letter felt like a step closer to a precipice. The fingers tapping against the screen felt vibrantly alive, but it was a heartbeat that demanded her attention more than anything. Just as she pressed send, a rush of uncertainty crashed over her like a winter chill. She stepped back, the gravity of her impulse weighing onto her heart. What had she done? Suddenly, her phone vibrated again, an immediate response from Mark. "Thank you for reaching out. We need to meet in person. It's about more than just us." A knot formed in her stomach, twisting tighter. "Tom," she said breathlessly, "this could be bigger than I thought." Dread and anticipation fought for dominance as she felt the truth of Mark's message wrap around her like a dark cloak. The future felt murky, and Sarah was no longer sure where the light was. "Should I meet him?" she asked, her voice small, barely above a whisper. Tom stared at her, his expression a mix of concern and tender affection. This moment could alter everything, and Sarah was left standing at yet another crossroads. As the weight of her decision loomed, she knew deep down that whatever truth awaited her could reshape the world she had built and the life she thought she knew. Would she find answers, or would this choice pull her into chaos she may never escape? Sarah's phone buzzed again, breaking her train of thought. It felt like a guilty confession hiding in her pocket. She glanced at Tom, who was still watching her, his eyes searching for clarity. She could see the conflict swirling within her, a mix of fear, curiosity, and the urge to protect the life she had fought hard to build. "What if it's dangerous?" Tom said softly, breaking the silence. "What if he's just playing games?" The words hung in the air like an uninvited ghost. She wanted to brush them away, but they lingered, heavy and oppressive. She pictured Mark's face, the way his smile used to light up the darkest rooms, how he always seemed to know what she was thinking. Yet, she also recalled the chaos that had followed them. The whispers, the late nights filled with arguments, the sense of being trapped in a whirlwind. "I know it could be risky," she finally admitted, her voice shaking. "But I can't help it. I need to see him. I have to understand." "Understanding can sometimes lead to more questions," Tom cautioned. "You might not like the answers, Sarah. You might open a door that can't be closed again." His words resonated, but the pull of the past was too strong. She thought about how she had woven a new life with Tom, a safe harbor after years of storms. Leaving that harbor meant stepping back into turbulent waters. She took a deep breath, her mind racing with shadows of possibilities and echoes of the past. Maybe you're right," she said. "But what if I ignore it? What if I let it fester? My curiosity might eat me alive." Tom reached for her hand, intertwining his fingers with hers. That simple touch grounded her as he nodded. "You need to do what feels right for you. Just promise me, be careful." His support gave her strength, yet doubt loomed over her like storm clouds. She thumbed through Mark's message again, the words pulsing with urgency. She could feel the weight of her decision pressing down as she contemplated the next steps. "Okay. I'll text him back," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Let us meet." Tom swallowed hard, a flicker of concern crossing his face. "Just be sure of what you want to ask and what you're willing to hear." "Right," she said, though her heart trembled at the thought. Could she even prepare for what could be unfolding? She texted Mark, agreeing to meet at a local cafe, a neutral ground dotted with familiar faces and memories, some bright, some dark. With her heart pounding, she hit send and then turned her gaze to Tom. His expression was a blend of pride and worry, comrade standing at the edge of a battlefield. "What do you think he wants to talk about?" he asked, breaking the silence. "I don't know," she whispered, feeling the weight of her own uncertainty. "But whatever it is, it feels like it could change everything." A chill ran down her spine, as the idea that the past could finally catch up with her settled in. She thought of the choices that had led her here, the choices that had kept her safe all these years. What if it's another lie? She murmured, the fear creeping back in. Tom squeezed her hand tighter, and she could almost hear his silent promise to support her no matter what. They shared a silent moment, an understanding that words couldn't capture an emotional tether that reminded her she wasn't alone, no matter how daunting the path ahead seemed. As they prepared to leave, Sarah's phone chimed again. It was a follow-up message from Mark: "Let us meet tomorrow at noon. I promise you'll want to hear what I have to say." A wave of apprehension crashed over her. What if tomorrow brought her face to face with a truth so shocking that it shattered everything she'd built? What if the meeting didn't just dredge up her past, but forced her to reevaluate her future? Tom leaned in closer, his breath warm against her ear. "No matter what, I'm here," he reassured her. But could even his steadiness survive the revelation to come? Tomorrow held answers, but also uncertainties. The fog of doubt thickened around her, and with it, her heart raced for what lay ahead. What awaited her in that cafe, and how would it reshape the delicate threads of a life she thought she understood? Sarah woke up the next morning to a rush of mixed emotions. The sun filtered softly through the curtains, but she felt a storm brewing inside her. The weight of the impending meeting with Mark hung heavily over her. She glanced at Jason, blissfully lost in his dreams. A wave of love washed over her, mingling with a salty taste of fear. Today could change everything. She prepared breakfast mechanically, each movement a shield against the turmoil in her heart. As she flipped pancakes, she wondered what Mark would say. Would he speak of regrets? Of hidden truths? Or would he pull her deeper into confusion? After Jason headed to school, a silence settled in her home. It felt suffocating. She scrolled through her phone, needing something to hold on to, but only found reminders of the past she was desperately trying to avoid. As noon approached, anxiety barely let her breathe. She slipped into a simple dress, one she'd worn on special occasions with Tom. It wrapped around her like a comforting embrace, a reminder of the warmth her life held. This meeting had to be a catalyst for growth, not a shattering blow. Arriving at the cafe felt surreal. It buzzed with life, children laughing, baristas calling orders, and friends catching up over steaming cups of coffee. But it all felt muted for her, like she was underwater, observing everything from a distance. Then she spotted him. Mark sat in the corner, looking changed yet achingly familiar. There was a softness in his demeanor, but also a hard edge of regret etched on his face. As she stepped closer, her heart raced half hope, half dread. "Hey, Sarah," he greeted, a flicker of hesitation touching his eyes. "Hi, Mark," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. They settled into the conversation, uneasiness thick in the air. Mark sipped his coffee, staring at it as though it held the secrets of the universe. "Thank you for coming," he said finally, his voice low. "I know this must be strange." "It is," she interrupted cautiously, a wall of protective instincts rising. "Why did you want to meet?" Mark's expression shifted. "I know I hurt you. I've carried that regret for years." The air between them hummed with unresolved tension. "What are you here for, really?" she pressed, refusing to let him take her on a nostalgia trip. "I need to tell you about that night, and why I left," he said, eyes pleading. Every fiber of her being shouted to push away, to protect what she had with Tom and Jason. But there was an undeniable pull, a need to seek the truth despite the gnawing fear of what it might bring. "I don't want to revisit the pain," she said, fighting to stay grounded. "Please, just hear me out," Mark implored. "It's not just about us anymore. There are things you need to know about your life now, about Jason." With those words, her breath hitched. Jason? What could he possibly know that affected her son? The stakes had just climbed higher, and she felt a swell of worry flood her chest. "Go on," she whispered, feeling the shift in the air. Mark leaned in closer. "There are truths I never told you. You weren't meant to be in the dark about everything, and I think it's time you knew." The next words tumbled out of him, heavy with hidden history, each sentence wrapped in the secrets of the past. He spoke of choices made without her knowledge, webs of lies that had tangled her fate, how things were connected in ways she could never have dreamed. It painted a picture of a life that seemed solid, yet was built on shifting sands. She felt a deep shock wash over her. Anger swirled with understanding, and her emotions battled like thunderclouds. "Why didn't you tell me? I thought I was protecting you." "I thought it was better this way," Mark replied, desperation rising in his voice. "What kind of man thinks hiding the truth is protection?" She fumed, tears brimming. A knot of silence fell between them, one thick with disappointment and lost time. Sarah felt torn. A part of her wanted to lash out, while another wanted to understand why things had happened the way they did. But then she remembered Tom, his unwavering support, the life they had built. He was her present, her light, and the thought of losing that flickered visions of a darker path. "Mark, this is too much," she said, putting up emotional barriers. "You can't just drop a bomb like this and expect things to go back to normal." "We can't go back. But we can find closure," Mark urged. "You deserve that." The weight of his words settled in, digging deeper. She thought of Jason smiling, of Tom's reassuring presence. What closure would truly mean? Would uncovering these truths bring her peace or chaos? What does this mean for me, for Jason? Have you even thought about that? The tears she fought began to spill over, a cascade of pent-up emotions pouring forth. Mark inhaled sharply. "I've never stopped caring about you and Jason. You deserve to know everything that connects you." In that moment, she could feel the threads between the past and present pulling taut. Could she really find strength in this newfound understanding, or had he unleashed a storm that could tear everything apart? As the memories swirled, she sensed Tom waiting in the shadows, hearing the echoes of this heart-wrenching reunion. "Mark, I need time to process this," she stated firmly. "You've thrown everything into chaos, and I cannot let it unravel what I've fought so hard for." His gaze softened with sorrow, and he nodded solemnly. "I understand. Just know I'm here if you need clarity. But you have to choose what's best for you and Jason." After the coffee cups grew cold and the conversation dwindled into a heavy silence, she stood up to leave, her heart pounding with conflicting emotions. "Sarah," Mark called after her, voice heavy with regret. "Just promise me don't let our past define your future." And as she walked out of the cafe, she understood that stepping into the light meant taking the time to find her own truth while safeguarding the family she cherished. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting warm hues across the sky, she returned to the comfort of her home. Jason was waiting for her, eyes brimming with trust and innocence. In the gentle embrace of her son, she felt the chaos begin to settle. Tom soon entered, a quiet smile spreading across his face. "Hey, how did it go?" he asked, his gaze open and inviting. "We need to talk," she replied, pulling in a breath to steady herself. And as they sat together, she began to share the fragments of Mark's revelations, an act of strength, vulnerability shining through her words. "Together?" Tom asked gently, wrapping a protective arm around her shoulder. "Together," she whispered back, her heart swelling with love. In that moment, she realized that while truth might unravel past layers, it also created new bonds. It would not be the end, but rather the beginning of a new chapter, one where she could write her own story built on love, resilience, and unshakable faith in a brighter tomorrow. With a smile etched on her face, she felt lighter, ready to embrace the new paths before her. Here, with Tom and Jason, in the warmth of her own home, she found her forever. And that more than any hidden truth was the real victory. If you love this journey, then it's time to show your support. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that will touch your heart. Leave a like right this moment to feed the algorithm and spread the love. Comment below about your feelings on this amazing transformation, and share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this. Don't wait not even one more second, let us spread the impact.